Shalom everyone, and today we study Parashat Re'eh, the book of Deuteronomy, Dvarim, chapter 11, verse 26. We are in the midst of the speech, the grand speech of Moses. The speech started in the beginning of the book of Deuteronomy, and it's lasting till the last page of this book. And the speech lasted for a period of 6 weeks, according to the dates given in the book itself. And we said already in the beginning, Moses, in his great speech, the book of Deuteronomy, he is building, completing the vision of the vision that according to his mission, that vision is supposed to be the winning vision of humanity till humanity is coming to its fulfillment. And first of all, the idea of a fulfillment, which means the idea that there is a purpose for the creation, there's a great, good purpose for the creation, and every one of us has a role in that purpose, which means everything is going towards becoming better and better till there's no more evil and all the evil is turning into good. So when we understand and that's why the first parasha of the book, Parashat Dvarim, is always being read on Shabbat Chazon, Shabbat of the Vision. The name of this parasha is Re'eh. Re'eh also could be translated into vision. However, here, the word itself is being used as a verb. And the verb is more into giving an instruction. That could be seen the way it's written. Re'eh, Moses is saying, see, take a vision, Anochi, myself, noten lifnechem hayom, giving in front of you today, bracha uklala, a blessing and a curse. Verse 27, Et habracha asher tishmor al mitzvot Adonai Elohechem. The blessing is when you listen to the mitzvot of the Lord your God. Ve'aklala, 28, and the curse, if im lo tishmor al mitzvot Adonai Elohechem. The curse if you do not listen to the mitzvot of the Lord your God. Now, we can read that. We can read that as a religious text. You follow God's commandments, you will be rewarded. You do not follow God's commandments, you will be punished. That's very important to understand, but this is when you read it as a religious text. However, Rabbi Ashlag, I mentioned that story a few times, is giving a story. And the story is like this. A person was caught spitting in the picture of the king in the middle of the street. He was brought in front of the king to be judged, and he was sentenced to death. What is the last wish of the death sentence? Is that the king would look at the picture. And the king is looking at the picture and saying, this is not me, case dismissed. Okay, what is this story representing? The story is Rabbi Ashlag is asking, who is responsible for the image of the king of the universe in the person's mind? Why? This is crucially important because who is responsible for the picture of the king in my mind? Could be the teacher in the kindergarten, could be a father, a mother, both of them, maybe a family relative. And Rabbi Ashlag is asking, what is the theological background of these people that are responsible for the picture of the Almighty in the person's mind. And therefore, says Rabbi Ashlag, many people's picture, image, vision is so terrible that I will spit on it myself. So, if we vision God Almighty as like an old man sitting on a throne up in heaven, and he's just really making sure that whoever is following the instructions precisely will be rewarded, and whoever is not following the commandments precisely will be smitten and punished from the throne. But this is not how a Kabbalist sees that. The Kabbalist is saying the vision, and today modern psychology is very much uh, arriving to that idea because the way we vision the universe, the narrative, the story we tell ourselves, the way we have a vision about reality, about our own purpose and calling, that will determine the way we interpret what we see. So there's no just seeing. Many people can see the same picture. However, they interpret it differently because they see things differently, because their brain is wired for a different vision. So the vision that we have developed in our mind or was instilled over there or installed over there by, you call it education, you call it brainwashing, you call it societal conditioning. It's all about my sight, my vision. Uh, we also, in many languages, we call a prophet a seer. So it's just also a matter of sight. There is a sight and there is a sight. How do you interpret what's happening in front of you? That depends on the vision, the way you see things. So why studying Torah is so important daily, hourly, because the purpose of the studying of the Torah is to upgrade our vision daily, because the way I see stuff, which means the way I see my calling, that will influence the way I see everything in reality. Which means uh, I had a great teacher, was very, very, very fortunate, Rabbi Nissim Peretz of blessed memory. And he said, when you read it, you can read it in the way we just said it in the beginning, or you can read it differently. What is the blessing? Asher tishmor mitzvot Adonai Elohim. When you listen to the mitzvot, when you appreciate the Torah and the vision and the mission of the Torah, that is your blessing. And the curse is when you're getting it too light, when you relate to the Torah and its assignments, you take it lightly, then this is your curse, because when you don't really understand that this world has a vision, a mission, a direction, and a destiny, a calling, if you don't see that, then you don't see the picture, and that will be your curse, because when you just insist of not understanding the vision of this universe, you will be lost because you don't understand why things happen. Uh, just to show modern thinking how it is important to rewire our brain. We are being trained, if you just join, all kinds of workshops and lectures about how to become the best you can be. What's one of the first thing people teach you is there are no problems, there are only opportunities, challenges, which means the moment you see obstacles as a problem and you design it, you define it as a problem, you define it as an obstacle, you're saying life is harder and harder and harder. And then you're just saying it's like, the whole world is just against me because, of course, there are more problems than solutions. There are more obstacles than support. So, how would I look at the world around me as a dangerous place, fearsome? Or I look at it from a different place, for totally different place. If I am an entrepreneur, if I am very, very much success motivated, when I see a problem, I don't see a problem, I see a need. I see an opportunity. I see over here, this is a place for me to step up. And what is a disaster for some people will be a blessing in disguise for other people. What will determine my reaction? The wiring of my brain, the wiring of my vision, the way my vision is being set. So, Rabbi Peretz used to say, "What is the best part of uh, my life?" And he says, "My shortcomings." Why? Say, let's say you're investing in real estate. Okay, a person that is really his life is about investing in real estate, he looks at the high scale real estate as something not very tempting. Why? How much money can you make from a piece of real estate that is fully developed? Not too much, usually. Usually. However, if you find a piece of real estate that is fallen or falling apart, this is an opportunity. You already see, because your brain is already wired for that, you already see the potential profit you can make out of real estate that is run down, fallen apart. Nobody wants to get into it. However, the way you make money is buying cheap, renovating, upgrading, bringing it to the highest standard. Now you sell it with much higher profit than a piece of real estate that is already fully developed, which means two people looking at the same real estate uh, asset that is run down and falling apart with all kinds of registration issues, legal issues, and you see, oh, stay away from trouble. Okay? Another person says money, profit, success. Why? Nobody will love that. Nobody will buy that. I will buy cheap, and I know already. Like I know there's some people that are in real estate, they love to buy um, assets that nobody wants to buy because legally there's so many problems behind each one of them. However, because they specialize in these kinds of matters, make my day. Give me such an asset. I will turn it into a high profit asset after I remove all the legal issues. Why? I already know my way in the bureaucracy, in the legal system, and I know exactly how to tackle, how to solve those problems that other people see it as incurable problem. So the way we realize our mind, the way we develop our vision, it is crucial. for our life story to be a success story or a failure. So if we are being seen, if we just simply understand the message of the Torah Kabbalistically, which is teaching us, A, the world was created for good. B, no free lunches. Human beings are made in the image of God. Therefore, to be in the image of God means that you must feel autonomous, independent. Therefore, you cannot be dependent on others for your success. You need to be creative enough to create always something out of nothing. And you need to be a sharing human being. When everything is easy and simple, you cannot simply develop those aspects of your own personality. Every human being has the need to fight for freedom, has the need to create stuff nobody ever created before. Everybody has the need to be of value to other people. So if the world was simple, without any problems, and everything will come easy and nice, we will never be able to manifest that aspect of our nature. And therefore, things are broken so we can fix them. Things are missing so we can develop the fulfillment of the need of what is missing. The necessity is the mother of all invention. And so, why there's a necessity? An opportunity for inventing. So, if we understand that, then we can understand the first verses of this parasha. It's all about the way you see things, the way you simply wire your brain to see things. And therefore, the Torah, all commentaries, it's first of all about there's always a good ending. The Hollywood idea of a happy ending is coming from here. No wonder that the people who basically created Hollywood, most of them grew up in a cheder, in a Jewish education system from 3 years old in Eastern Europe. That was the narrative, that was the story, that was the vision. That's how you see things. It's always, if end is well, all is well. And if it's not well, it's not the end yet. So we keep on trying because we are all connected to a happy ending for every human being. So we can see that in this parasha manifesting in some very important places. Let's skip to a very important one where it is said, chapter 14, verse 1, which is one of the most important verses in the whole Torah. Banim atem laAdonai Elohechem. You are all children. Here it says sons, but it means children to the Lord your God. Because, and that's how we understand the rest, you are God's sons, which means the Zohar is bringing this example about what's the difference between a son and a slave. A slave is just hanging there to get by. A son, he has two very important attributes. A, he knows that his father's business belongs to him too. Therefore, whatever effort he puts in improving the business will always, he has ownership. And also, because he loves his father, he will do his best to make things work because he cares for his father, and therefore he cares for his father's asset, the creation. So if you have that consciousness that you are the son of God, That's the Torah. Again, if you didn't notice, Deuteronomy chapter 14th, verse 1. You are the son of God. You are. Which means if you are the son of God, you have to behave as a son of God. Everything belongs to your father. Your father is always on your side. Your father loves you beyond anything you can even imagine. And whatever you do, you have an ownership because everything that belongs to your father naturally belongs to you too. And if you really love your father as a son, you'll do everything in your power to make this world a better place to live in. And therefore, the verse continues, לא תתגודדו ולא תשימו כורחה בין עיניכם. The simple explanation of that, do not mourn for the dead as the Canaanites. Do not mourn too much, and let's read what the Arizal, Rabbi Azakloria, has to teach us about it. First of all, the Arizal is saying we know the truth is that the person must mourn for his father, for his mother, for his children, for his brother and sister and his wife. The heaviest mourning is for three: a father, a son, a brother, and that's why it says you are sons of God. Why? To hint, לרמז על האב, to hint for the father. Who is the father? You all have a great father in heaven. He is the Lord your God. He is the father, the great father. And that's why Moses is saying, you are the sons of the Father in heaven. Now, then it says you should not mourn too much, even for those people that you really, really care for. Your father, your brother, your son. And why? And there, the Arizal is saying something very important. The word is lamet. Lamet means for the dead person. That's how you read it in Hebrew in the first glance. Rabbi Azakloria is teaching us something very important. Look at the word again. If you look at the word carefully and you really studied Hebrew grammar, there's something very exceptional, even weird, in the way it's written. Why? The Arizal is saying like this. If it was really, the word is you should not mourn too much for the dead, that's how it sounds like and looks like when you read it in the first glance, it should have been written as follows. The letter lamed with the vowel patach, and then the gesh, the dot in the middle of the letter mem. If you look at the Torah, there's no patach in the lamed, only a kamatz, and there's no dagesh in the mem. It says, and there is no other place in the Torah, as far as I know, with the same way things are written. This is totally exceptional. It doesn't fit Hebrew grammar, unless the Arizal says you have to read it differently. Because if you want to read it, you should not mourn too much for that person. It should be written lamet, lamed with a patach. Patach is like one line. Here it says with a kamatz like a plus sign. Okay? And there's no dagesh in the mem. So really, if the lamed is with the kamatz, it means an open syllable. It's la met. It's not lamet, la met. La met, says the Arizal, it really means no death, which means לפי ראות עיניך ניכר שמת. According to what you see, what your eyes show you, he is dead. However, he's not really dead, which means here again, we have an interpretation based on your vision, your sight, the way you see reality, which means when your vision is about that we human beings, we are mostly a soul spending its time in a physical body and learning to live a divine life in spite and because the physical body. So we learn how to transform the physical body, our own body, the physical environment into a divine environment. So that's why when we study about the mitzvot, Moses is speaking about it every chapter through the whole book. The mitzvot are not commandments. Although a lot of rabbis will translate the mitzvot into commandments. And yes, the Zohar and the Talmud are warning, clearly warning, commandment is idol worshiping. We are not doing things out of commandments. Slaves do things out of commandments. Slaves are people who really do not accept the idea that they are responsible for their vision and for destiny. And we are here to take the opportunity to create everything in our life as a divine opportunity for growth. That's a vision of the Son of God, not a slave. A slave is following commandments. If you are the Son of God, you do not follow commandments. You are doing mitzvot. Mitzvah comes from the word to team. To team means to team the soul and the body, the spiritual and the mundane. The heaven and the earth, the visible with the metaphysical. Every mitzvah is not a good deed. Yeah, every good deed can be a mitzvah. When does a good deed becomes a mitzvah? When it is done part of a vision that when I performing a good deed, I am connecting to my Father in heaven. I'm connecting because the way to connect to the Almighty is through the rule of similarity, which means how do we connect to the Almighty is when we behave in His attributes. When He is merciful, we are merciful. So when we love others, we share with others. When we overcome our own negativities and become more divine, when we bring in the spiritual forces of love and light into the physical action, this is a mitzvah because I am connecting, uniting the divine with the physical. I'm creating sanctity in a place that was devoid of sanctity. I'm taking the void and fill it up with holiness. This is my vision. This is the vision of humanity when we see ourselves as the sons of God. So what I'm doing over here, I'm on a mission. And the mission is to feel my Father's vision. So when I have that intention, that meditation in everything I do, then it is called a mitzvah because I am basically, I was sent by my Father to this world that is empty and void and hollow. It's so materialistic. However, my job is to sanctify this physical world to make my Father God to reign, to be the king of everything. How? With my own actual powers, my own actual movements and doings, and that turn just an action into a mitzvah. So when I have that awareness, when I have that vision, when I see life like this, that means that everything that I see as a hardship again and as a failure, what as it says in Proverbs, the righteous person will fall 7 times and rise up all over again. Why? Because he's a righteous person. He sees the falling as an opportunity, as God is testing you, but in the Hebrew word is nisayon. Nisayon is not a test, says the Zohar, when the Zohar explains the story of the binding of Isaac, where it says God tested Abraham. No, the word is nisa. The word nisa has an angle of a test, but the main word is coming from lanus velitnoses, to flee up and above, which means to flee out of the physical perception of reality, the void, empty physicality that says, oh, there's only things just happen by coincidence, by probabilities. No, whatever happens is part of the network of God, our Father in heaven. And because of that, it's an opportunity. And when I look at it as an opportunity, I do my best to go up and above, to overcome the negativity, to overcome the sense of failure, to overcome the sense of disaster. And why? Because if my Father in heaven gave me that uh, opportunity, not as a test, but as a way to transform and to become even more divine than before. So when I see it as why am I in, why did I fall in such a trouble? I fell in that trouble for one purpose, so I can transform above the trouble, transform the trouble into a solution, into a challenge, rise higher, step up to the occasion, and prove myself that I'm not a slave to the occasions, okay, random occasions of reality. I am proving myself as the Son of God, and I stepped up and I'm saying, if this is what is happening to me, this is my opportunity, this is my test to prove myself as divine so I can bring God's glory and presence into this physical reality. That is what's behind this story. Now, but it's not enough. There's a very important concept about it that is even prophetic. And you'll find it in chapter 13. Now, after we got that idea, we go back to chapter 13. And chapter 13 starts with a very important instruction. את כל הדבר אשר אנוכי מצווה אתכם אותו תשמעו לעשות, לא תוסף עליו ולא תיגרע ממנו. Everything that I give you the mitzvah to do, where you understand that this is, all of these lines of orders and mitzvot, it's all a set of very important rules. So when we follow these rules, we basically find the journey. It's the blueprint, the roadmap towards divinity for each one of us. So as long as you keep it, you should observe it and do not add upon it. Do not remove anything from it. Which means, why is that important? Especially today, we live in an age that started a few centuries ago, maybe 2 centuries ago, in which after so many years that religion abused very big part of humanity, especially religions of European religions. And I'm talking about Europe and the Middle East. In the name of religion, there was so much abuse, torture, discrimination. Not just Jews suffered from that, everybody suffered from that. And then the movement started. We're talking about the 18th century of getting rid of religions or people who made themselves the interpreters of the word of God from determining how a society, a country should behave. And those philosophers decided that we humans can invent a much better way of thinking under the idea that every human being has the right for happiness. So that paved the road for the American Revolution, later on the French Revolution, and then the emancipation of the populations in Europe, North America, and later on, slowly, big parts of the world till today. The problem is, we see today, the moment you give full authority for human beings to make the law, within the last 2 centuries, the law started to be very much corrupted. In the name of human pure logic, we already saw 100 years ago how people took their own vision that they invented, like communism, fascism, Nazism, and saying, okay, because we learned evolution and human nature and psychology, we want to solve humanity's problems, and we invented new ways. The result was a bloodbath that humanity is still trying to wake up from the horrors of that bloodbath. Okay, but that was not over. The fear from the fascism and communism and all of that created so much need to create more and more laws to prevent that from happening again. So those laws that started to restrict human thinking, human behavior, became another kind of theocracy, another kind of a dictatorship. You're not allowed, you're not allowed, you're not allowed. And in the name of reason, you can see all over the world today that the human rights that were available in democracies 50 years ago, even 30 years ago, they are more and more scarce than they've been before, because the legal system, because of the fear of dictatorship, is becoming a dictatorship of itself. And here we have a problem, because who will monitor the judges? Who is going to make sure that the lawmakers are not going to make rules that are going to be dangerous? So here comes the Torah. And the Torah says there are certain rules that you cannot add upon them, and you do not change them. Do not change them, do not add, do not remove anything. And then comes verse 2. כי יקום בקרבך נביא או חולם חלום. A time will come, and you will have amongst you a prophet, somebody who will carry prophecies and make wonders to prove his professed prophecies. ונתן אליך אות ומופת, or there will be somebody who will have a dream and coming with a new religion. So it says one option is a prophet and one is a dreamer. Okay. And then their miracles will tell you to follow other gods, change the rules of the Torah. And here it says very strictly, verse 4, Lo tishma el divrei hanaviyahu, you do not listen to that prophet or to the dreamer. Ki menaseh Adonai Elohechem etchem, because God is giving you an opportunity to rise upon the occasion, testing you. Do you really love the Lord your God enough to continue holding on to the letter of the Torah? Do you really love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your might? And then it says, verse 5, Acharei Adonai Elohechem telechu, you will follow only the Lord your God, ototi, how you have all only of him, okay, and you observe only his mitzvot, you listen only to his voice, you will worship only him, and you attach only to him. Okay? Vanavi, Ocholem Acholom, and the prophet, and the dreamer, they will be executed because the moment they coming to change the law of the Torah, in that moment, they're trying basically to say the God that took you out of Egypt and gave you his law, you're not following him anymore. You're following my law. And all of that is in order to remove you from the road, the journey, the way that God ordered you to walk into. And you should remove the evil from within, from your midst. So here you have like something more clear than that you cannot have. Because we know religions are being established by prophets, by people who made wonders, by people who had dreams, and they came and changed the Torah. Why? It's time to change. It's time to make a difference. It's time to... That's a problem. Because, let's go again to the name of the parasha, Re'eh, vision, the way you see stuff. The way we see stuff, we all know is relative. If we are angry, we are hateful, we see everything colored with a different color. When we are excited about something, we interpret the same action, the same things differently. We need to have, as humanity, something solid that is not a matter of interpretation. So the moment you take, let's say, the Sabbath, Shabbat, it says Shabbat. All over the world, everybody knows Shabbat. Everybody counts, everybody knows the same Shabbat. How come you make the Sabbath Sunday or Friday? Oh, we have the power to do that. Very nice. You can do whatever you want. But you're not following the Torah. You're not following God. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of Mount Sinai. No, you're following another God. Why? Because the Torah says that clearly. A prophet will come or a dreamer, and they will tell you to follow different laws. Do not follow them. What can be more clear than that? And so we have in every generation people trying to prophesize or to share with humanity a different vision. What is the problem? You are not the child, you are the child of God. And if you want to know what does it mean to be the son of God, you have to be loyal to your father. And his words are very, very precise. It starts from Genesis in the beginning and it ends in the end of the book of Deuteronomy. Then you have also the Torah Sheba'al Peh, the oral law that was also given on Mount Sinai, which means it's also the oral Torah is about how do you interpret these words. Mount Sinai revelation was not just the written law, it's also the code. How do you interpret the written words? And that was given also on Mount Sinai. But it was handed over generation after generation from a teacher to a student. And that's basically the oral Torah. This is the Mishnah, the Talmud, the Zohar, and all the rules that were made later. All of them were precisely made based on very strict rules of interpretation. Why? You should not change even an iota. You cannot change a letter, not even to speak about that it didn't happen on that day, it happened on that day. When you're really changing like the whole story, you're changing the story, you're changing the vision. So that brings us again to the beginning of the book of Deuteronomy. What really determines, according to modern research, modern psychology, what determines our ability to deal with traumas, with pain, with failure? It's a story, it's a narrative, it's the vision we have inside us. Some people get the vision through their life. The purpose of the study of the Torah is to embed in our thinking system the vision that was given to us on Mount Sinai. Meanwhile, this vision, although it is not, let's say, so common on earth today, which means a lot of people are fighting that vision, which means the story of Judaism, the story of the Torah, the story of the Zohar. And because there are other stories that are competing, those stories came later on and they are competing. And because it's a competition, there's hatred. But the hatred is not from the people telling the Torah story. It's from the other people telling the competing stories. Why? Why so much hatred? And the answer is because the story of the Torah is persisting, it's consistent, and it's still about the idea that we are all the children of God and we have to behave as such. And we cannot be hateful because that's idol worshiping, because hating, anger is an idol worshiping by itself, because the moment your vision is based on hatred and anger, you're already, because it says so really clearly, you're already following other gods, fake gods. If you follow the story of the Torah, you follow the first original story, you will realize that you start to see the fake everywhere against you, around you. And that's another reason why there is such a fight against the Torah story, because the Torah story is so complete. When you really see the picture and the vision, you can see clearly what is a fake story and what is not. So that story is really still a threat, the biggest threat for all other competing stories. And they are trying, each one of them is trying to take over the world as we speak. The Torah story is strong enough to win them all sooner or later. And how do you know? The more you argue about it, the more you fight it, the more you intimidated by it, it means it's winning. Never forget it. See, have the vision, follow the Torah, and you will see the blessing everywhere you look at, because you see your Father God watching you, directing you, giving you opportunities, not obstacles, just opportunities to shine, to be his child. Thank you so much.